Hi friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel Daysi DIY. Today I'm gonna share with you guys an easy and beautiful Christmas DIYs. I hope you guys enjoy. If you do, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. Let's start with the first project. I'm gonna be using this sign that I got at Dollar Tree, and the first thing I'm gonna remove the image, and I just want to show you how easy it was to remove the image for this sign. Sometimes they're a little bit harder to remove the image, but don't worry. If you guys don't want to remove your image, you guys can use the back of the sign to recreate this project. And to paint it, we're using this Rust-Oleum paint on color white. I got this paint at Amazon, or you guys can get it at Walmart, or you guys can use any paint. So you guys can see I didn't want to cover the sign all the way because we're gonna be painting the edges of the sign, and for that I just use the painter's tape to cover the part that we paint. And to paint the sides, I'm just using craft white chalkboard paint on color ink. This paint I got it at Dollar Tree, and also with the same paint I just put a little bit on that side so we can cover it. And for me it's more easy just to use my finger. You guys can use like a small brush to paint it, and once it's completely dry I just remove the pieces of the painter's tape. And you guys see in this part where I remove the pieces of the painter tape, it kind of come out the paint, but it was just really simple fix. I just went over with a little bit of the same paint, and it was really simple fix. And also I decided to create this chiplet look that I love to create, and I just create 4 lines. And once I create the lines, I went over with my pencil, and I always mention that I always trace my lines 2 or 3 times so they can be darker. So once you distress it, it's way easy. And I just want to show you with the finger, it's easy to distress it, but I love this way better, this technique, to use a wet paper towel, and it's really simple to distress it. I'm gonna be using this painter stick that I got from Amazon, and I just cut 2 pieces of the side of the sign, and I just use a piece of sandpaper just to sand the edges. And to paint it, I'm gonna be using this Waverly paint that I got at Walmart, and I just use a piece of this bud sponge so we can paint it. I love to use these pieces of the bud sponge because you don't use that much paint, or if you guys want to, you guys can use a brush. And once they're completely dry, I decide to use again the piece of sandpaper just to distress the pieces a little bit so it can show the wood under that I had. It's really beautiful once we distress it. And also with the same piece of the bud sponge, I just went over on the side and distress it just in a few parts, especially on the part that we didn't paint, so it can give this high-end look to the wood sign. And I also decide with a piece of sandpaper just to remove a little bit of the paint on the edges, and I just love it once I did this step. So here comes the fun part. We're gonna glue the 2 pieces of the painter sticks on the top, and for that I'm using a combination of wood glue and hot glue for a strong hold. If you guys not in the rush, you guys can just use wood glue for permanent hold. I'm gonna be using this beautiful snowman that I got last year, and I'm pretty sure you guys see this beautiful snowman. So I'm gonna remove just the hanger that hold the 3 pieces of the body of the snowman because it was a little bit bigger for my sign, and I was thinking, I'm like, okay, I just want to remove those pieces so we can make it a little bit smaller so it can fit in our sign. The reason why I decided to use a little bit of the glue so it can hold it on place and to secure the pieces way better on the back, I just grabbed a piece of that jute twine and I just tie it really well on the back, and with the remaining piece I just cut it. And to make sure that it holds really well the pieces on the back, I just use a little bit of the hot glue. And once we're done, we're just gonna glue the beautiful snowman on the top, and I just use a little bit of the hot glue. But right now I'm thinking, because it has a hanger on the top, you guys can just use like a thumbnail to just put it on the top, and and just paint it on color black, or you guys can put like a small hanger and you guys can just use that sign for other things, or if you guys want to, you guys can just use X6000 for permanent hold too. The next thing, I'm gonna be using this farmhouse ribbon that I got at Dollar Tree, and I'm gonna show you how easy and simple I create my bows. And I just create 2 bows so I can place it on the middle of the snowman, and I just use a little bit of the glue to glue it. Also, I decided to remove this little part of that greenery that I had on the hat. I didn't like it very well, so I'm like, let me grab another few pieces of the greenery and just to place it on the side. And also, if you guys want to, you guys can place like any color of berries that you guys want to. I think like color red, it will look really beautiful. I decided to use just the white ones, and I want to show you, if you guys want to, you guys can place like buttons on the top of that bows that we create. I just want to give you a few examples. You guys can decide if you guys want to place any buttons. I think it looks adorable. And also on the top of the painter sticks, I also decide to use a little bit of the Rust-Oleum paint to distress it a little bit, and also on the edges. And that was the only thing that I did. And I didn't remove the hanger of the sign. I just leave the same hanger, and this is how it looks, our first project. Please let me know what do you think about this adorable snowman. For the next project, I'm going to be using a few pieces of these woods that I had on hand. I just have this one a little bit bigger and the other one, they're a little bit smaller. And to paint it, I'm using the Waverly chalk paint on color anti-wax, and I'm just using a small piece of this bad sponge to paint it. I did 1 coat and I just let it dry. The next thing, I'm using the Rust-Oleum chalkboard paint on color white to paint the small piece, and I just did 1 coat and I just let it dry. I'm going to use this apple barrel in color red to paint the last piece of wood, and I just did 1 coat and I just let it dry. Also, I'm going to be using the Rust-Oleum chalkboard paint on color white to distress it a little bit. So I'm just using a little bit of paint. I just distress it at the way that I want it. So once it's completely dry, I'm going to be using this sandpaper to distress it a little bit. And once I was done, I just used a small piece of paper towel just to clean it. So the next thing, I'm going to be using this ribbon that I got from Amazon, and I just cut a small piece at the side that I needed, and I just used a little bit of hot glue to glue it. Also, I just create this small bow to put it right here in the middle. I'm going to be using a few pieces of this greenery and this berry to put it right here. And I'm just using a little bit of hot glue to glue everything. The next thing, I'm going to be using this rub-on transfer stickers, and I'm just going to be placing it this way. So with this little thing that I got from Dollar Tree, I'm just going to be scratching the letters. And once it was done, I just removed the plastic from the top. I'm going to be using this Mod Podge to do one coat so we can seal our letters. I'm going to be using these beautiful metal stickers that I have on hand, and I'm just going to be using this beautiful to place it right here in the middle. And I just use a little bit of hot glue to glue it. And with the last piece, I'm going to do the same step. And this is how it looks our project once we're done. I just want to show you how it looks if you want to just create one piece, if you want to recreate the three pieces, how they look all together. Please let me know in the comments down below. What do you guys think about this project? I'm gonna be using one ornament, and I have this beautiful ornament from last year, and to paint the edges I'm just using the craft white chalkboard paint. I did one coat and I just let it dry, and once it's completely dry I just went over with a piece of sandpaper just to remove a little bit of the paint because I want the wood to show a little bit. And to glue the ornament I'm gonna be just using hot glue, but if you guys want a strong hold I would recommend you guys to use it 6000, and I'm just placing it on the other side of the metal container that we just did on the other project. And I just create another beautiful bow and also this raffia bow, and I just put it on the top. And this is how it looks our project once we're done. It turned out really adorable, this two-side project. I love it. But please let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think about this project? For the next project, I'm going to be using the other side of the shadow box that we did in our first project. So I just cut the piece of cardboard at the side of the shadow box, and I'm just painting it with the Rust-Oleum chalk paint, and I just did one coat and I just placed the piece of cardboard. I just show you that I just put them inside. I just used a little bit of hot glue to glue the piece of cardboard. I just removed the hanger, and also I just covered the holes with some spackling. I'm gonna be using these Christmas pigs that I had on hand, and to give this effect that they have snow, I'm just using the same Rust-Oleum chalk paint. The next thing, we're going to be using another beautiful ornament that I got from Dollar General. I got it last year. Once I place my ornament, I'm going to be using hot glue to glue it in the middle. And once we're done, we're going to put the Christmas pig on that side. And also, I just create this beautiful bow, and I'm going to place it on the other side. It was really simple to create this bow. The other thing that I need in the middle of the bow, I just used a few pieces of the berries, and it was the touch that I need. And this is how it looks our project once we're done. It turned out really gorgeous. I love this two-side project, but please let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think about this project? For our next project, I'm going to be using one ornament and a piece of this burlap that I got from Dollar Tree, and I just cut it at the side that I need, and I just covered my ornament all the way, and I just grabbed one piece of jute twine to tie it very well, and once I was done, I just grabbed one Christmas pig that I had on hand, and I just gonna place it on the top of the ornament, and I just use hot glue to glue it. Also, I decided to grab one pine coin and place it on the middle, and to hang this beautiful ornament, I just grab another piece of jute twine and I just place it on the back, and to give this beautiful effect of the snow, I just used that Rust-Oleum chalk paint on color white, and this is how it looks, this adorable ornament. Once we're done, it turned out really beautiful, but please let me know what do you guys think about this project. For the next project, I'm going to be using the other side of the sign, and to paint it, I'm using the Waverly anti-wax. I just did one coat and I just let it dry. I'm going to use another beautiful free printable that I found on Google, and I just cut it at the side of my sign. And to put the image, I just did first one coat of Mod Podge on the back of the image, and once I was done, I did another coat of Mod Podge on the top, and I just placed my image, and with my hands I just smoothed the image so it won't have that many wrinkles. I always love to do this technique because it worked just amazing. To seal the image, I just did another coat on Mod Podge and I just let it dry completely. If you guys want, you guys can leave the sign of the color that I just showed you that we painted, but I didn't like it how it looks, so I went over with the Rust-Oleum chalk paint on color white, and I just did one coat and I just let it dry. I'm going to be using a piece of this Cork sheet that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm going to be using the Craftwise chalkboard paint on color ink, and I just traced with a pencil 25 cents, and with the brush I just went over to paint it. And to distress the sign a little bit more, I used the Waverly anti-wax. It was the touch that I need the sign, and it turned out really beautiful once you distress the sign. Once I was completely dry, I just went over with the Rust-Oleum chalk paint on color white just to distress it a little bit so they can blend all together with my sign. And once I'm done, I just gonna be placing the piece of Cork sheet on the top. If you guys want, you guys can use hot glue to glue it. One of my subscribers, she mentioned that the adhesive that they have is pretty strong, so I just place it this way, and I just create another beautiful bow. If you guys want me to show you how I create this bow, please let me know in the comments down below and I will show you. And I just place it on the top. I'm going to be using two bells that I had on hand, and I just placed it on the middle of the bow. It was missing something, and that's the touch that I need. And this is how it looks our project once we're done. It turned out really beautiful, these two side projects, but please let me know what do you guys think about this project. For our next DIY, I just removed this wreath from a ranger that I had like the two pieces together, and I just used it for other project, and I had it on hand, and I was not pretty sure what to do with this wreath. We're gonna call it like that. I'm not sure how to call it, you know. I decided to use the Rust-Oleum paint to paint it. I did two coats so we can cover really well the glitter. First I was thinking like just to remove the glitter with a piece of sandpaper, but it was kind of hard, you know. The other thing that we're going to be using this chalkboard that I got at Dollar Tree. It's really beautiful. I just love everything, but I decided to dark a little bit the piece of wood I had on the top, and for that I just used a little bit of the Waverly anti-wax. And also I just grabbed this greenery that I got from a Dollar Tree, and I just grabbed one piece, and I really love it because it gives this kind of look that it's snow. I just really love it. So I just got a few pieces, and I just used a little bit of the hot glue to glue it. You guys can use like red berries. I think it will look really beautiful, but I was going with something white. I decided to grab a piece of sandpaper just to remove a little bit of the anti-wax so it can show the wood under a little bit more, and I just glued that wreath on the top with a little bit of the hot glue, but I think it's way better to use X6000 for permanent hold. I grabbed this Bliss wood letter that I got from Dollar Tree, and it comes a few letters in a pack, and I just placed it on the middle, and I think you guys can paint the letters of your preference, red, green. It will look beautiful, you know. I went just with the same anti-wax, and I distressed the wreath just on a few parts a little bit. And I used a piece of this jute twine so we can hang this adorable sign. And I just want to show you how I placed the jute twine. And with the remaining piece, I just used my scissors to cut it. And I just glued that piece of jute twine on the back to make sure it holds really well the piece of jute twine. And this is how it looks our project once we're done. It turned out really adorable. I just love it. And I just want to show you, I should paint the letters with this Waverly chalk paint on color moss. I think it will look way better than letters. But please let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think about this other project?
For the next project,
I'm gonna be using this beautiful wood piece that I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm gonna be using another beautiful pre-printable, and it comes with the same pre-printable that I showed you in the beginning. I just placed my piece of wood on the top, and I just used my pen to trace it, and I'm gonna be using my scissors just to cut it. And once I'm done, I'm gonna be doing on the back one cut on Mod Podge, and I just did another cut on Mod Podge on the top. The next thing, we're using a piece of wood that I had on hand. If you guys don't have it, don't worry about it. You guys can grab two pieces of the Jenga blocks, use a little bit of hot glue to glue the two pieces, and paint it with the same color or the color of your preference. And I want to show you this part. my image, it was a little bit bigger on the edges. To fix that, I just bend it a little bit and it worked amazing. If you guys want, you guys can use your scissor to cut it. I decided just to paint the edges with the same color so it can blend with the base that we're gonna put it on the bottom. And to glue the base, I'm just using hot glue, but if you guys want a strong hold, I would recommend you guys to use wood glue. So once I glued the base, I didn't like it how it has this gap between the base and the piece of wood tree. So to fix that, I just grab this jute twine and I just wrap it around a few times, and I just use hot glue to secure the remaining piece on the back, and I just create this beautiful raffia bow. It was just simple how I created, and I just place it on the middle. It was a touch that I need. It turned out really adorable. I love it, but please let me know what do you guys think. For our next project, I'm going to be using this metal container that I had on hand. You guys can use either a sign or a piece of cardboard, and you guys can cut it at the circle shape. And to paint it, I'm using the Rust-Oleum chalk paint on color white. I did one coat and I just let it dry. Also, I decided to paint up the back so it can has a finished look. I'm going to be using this craft white chalkboard paint on color ink, and I'm just using a little bit of this paint to give this enamel chipping effect. And to distress it a little bit more, I'm using the Waverly anti-wax, and once it's completely dry, I just went over with this piece of sandpaper just to remove a little bit of the paint. And once you do that, it turned out really beautiful once you're done distressing it a little bit more with the piece of sandpaper. I'm going to be using this ornament that I got from Dollar General, and here's the item number just in case if you guys need it. I just grabbed a piece of this ribbon from Dollar Tree and I just create this bow to put it on the middle. And once I was done, I just placed the ornament inside, and I just used one pine coin to put it in the middle. I just used the same paints to distress a little bit the ornament, and this is how it looks our project once we're done. It turned out really adorable. I love it, but please let me know what do you guys think. For our last project, I'm going to be using another wood sign that I got at my Dollar Tree, and I'm going to remove the hanger and also all the embellishment that I had on the top. The eyes of the bunny, make sure that you don't throw those pieces away because you guys can reuse it, and also these little feet. And for this sign, it was really easy to remove that image too. You guys can see how easy it was. And the paint that I'm using is this Rust-Oleum chalk paint on color white. I just love to do this technique that I use a little bit of the paint, but you guys can use any technique that you guys love to, or you guys can cover the sign all the way. So I just did one coat and I just put it to a side and let it dry completely. I'm gonna create just a few lines on the top, and once I mark my lines twice, I just went over with a piece of paper towel and I just went over and I distressed the lines with the color pencils. You guys can create this chiplet look too, and they look really beautiful, the lines. And once we're done, I went over with the Waverly anti-wax just to distress it a little bit more, because for my eyes, they were not happy how it turned out the sign. I'm going to be using this wall sticker that I got at my Dollar Tree. It's really beautiful. I just love it, and I'm like, it will look amazing to create a project so I can display this beautiful wall sign in my house. I just placed first the words, but I didn't place it all the way, because first I just make sure I just centered the sticker on the sign, and once I was okay, I just went with my hand and stick really well the sticker. And also I decided to do one color Mod Podge on the top to seal really well the stickers so they can have a permanent hold, because I create one sign and I didn't do this step and the sticker fell down. So that's the reason why I decided to do one color Mod Podge, and I just let it dry completely. I'm gonna be using 2 pieces of the painter sticks, and I just cut it to the side of the wood sign, and also I cut the handles, and I just kind of eyeball it. You guys can just measure if you guys want to. And once I cut it, I just grab a piece of sandpaper just to sand it really well, the edges of the painter sticks. And to paint it, I'm gonna be using this Waverly anti-wax, and I just wet my sponge a little bit because I didn't want my pieces to be really dark. And once they're completely dry, I grab a piece of sandpaper just to remove a little bit of the anti-wax so we can see the wood it's under. I'm gonna do a combination of wood glue and hot glue to glue the 2 pieces of that painter stick, and I just place one on each side. And I just want to show you at the way that I glue the pieces. I left this gap between the sign and the painter stick so we can glue the handle, and also at the same time it can have that support, to glue the handle. And to reinforce it a little bit better, I just put more hot glue on the back. You guys can grab this piece of that nautical rope and just grab 2 pieces and create it as a hanger. I think it will look beautiful, but I decided to grab this wire that I got from Dollar Tree, and I just create a simple hangers, and I just glue it on the back. But I think it's way better to use E6000 for permanent hold. I grabbed this green that I got at Walmart, and I just grabbed a few pieces and I just place it on one side. And you guys can place these red berries. I think it will look really beautiful. I decided to use these white berries, and I just grabbed a few pieces and I just place it on the top of the greenery. And that's the only thing that I did for this sign. It turned out really beautiful. I just love it. I just want to know, with all the projects that I create for you guys today, which one it was your favorite? So that was it for today's video. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified every time that I upload new video. And please don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you so much and have an amazing day.